Well, hi guys and girls, welcome back to the spare room. This is coming back together. If we have a look, it's starting to look pretty sweet actually. We've got all the feet back together, the tables back together. I've blued these up and sort of give them a bit of a clean up. The table here. There's really no fallout this way on the table, which I'm really pleased about. There's a little bit this way, but we've got good bearing surfaces along the outside of each side of the table. So probably that's how it was made, and I'm going to live with it. The top of the table's pretty nice. I've given it a bit of a stone up in places, but it's not bad. This one here's got a bit of fallout in the back, but it's only about 2-3 thou that I can measure. Right at the extreme back. It's probably because the casting hasn't cleaned up rather than it actually been worn, I think, just from what I've seen. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of deflection or movement anywhere there. This slide here and this slide here have both got, the vertical slides have both got like proper scraping marks still in them, so they're pretty sweet all the way down. This one here was the one I was worried about, and this one here. Now, I don't think there's much to worry about with either of them. I'm going to leave them be. I'm not going to scrape them or anything. We got all these back together, and this is just a square gate here that it slides in. If you have a look, this side's got a gib, and this side's got an angle gib. But if we have a look here, there's an angle gib in here that is adjustable this way and this way. So that's all set up, and I've adjusted that up nice. And backwards and forwards and everything looks really good. And I'm pretty pleased about that. We've still got to put this hand wheel on. The rest of it's pretty much together, and this slide. So you've all had a bit of a look at this screw. If we bring him up real close, it's been welded up. It's a bit ordinary. Right. This may or may not be the original cast wheel. I'm sort of thinking it's probably a gate wheel or something someone's found and welded on there. I doubt very much whether it's the original one. And what I'm going to do is machine this off, like get rid of it, just set this up and machine him down 3/8 diameter and the full length there. So I've got a nice firm shoulder. Look at the wobble in that. What I'm probably going to do is get a bit of inch square and make a 3-ball hand wheel with a knob on it, about 3 inches across, and that'll improve that out of sight, I think. So that's today's project. First thing I think is to machine this down and then probably draw up something that looks like it's going to work, cut a bit of shaft and turn it up between centres with to fit. So let's get in and do that. So after a couple of nights of fairly slow turning and 4 thou cuts, I've had to rethink this job a bit. I've machined this knob off and got it down to size, which is 3/8. If you have a look, most of this shaft here is actually weld material, and it's pretty hard. I've got a reasonable finish on there with the sharp carbide. But as for drilling a hole in the end and putting a tap in it and filing a flat on it for a key and stuff, I'm reluctant. So what I'm going to do is make a bowl handle and put a set screw in it with a flat and Loctite it all together, and that should be plenty good enough. So there's the thread sort of starting to look a little bit more professional and business-like. And should do the job. Now for the handle. So I've drawn up this, which is a bit of steel rod I had, which I'm sort of thinking might be stainless or it might not, but it's cutting alright, so we're going to go with it. And it's got 3 balls on it, 1 7/8, an inch on this side and 3/4 on that side, with a handle sticking up. And it's 1.5 inches centres between the balls, so 3 inches overall. So that's all I've got. Now I've got a set of verniers. What I'm going to do is chuck up a piece of bar on centre. And drill a centre hole in each end and face it. And what we're going to do is hold this end in the chuck, and we're going to machine this one down to 7/8 and this one down to 3/4 for a start. And then probably get a parting tool and go zit, 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 just with the verniers off the drawing. And when we've done that, we might drill some holes in it and put it back between centres and start shaping these up a bit. It's only got to look good and it's got to be tactile and nice and smooth, so we'll see how it works out. So I've had some problems here with the lathe, mostly that it's just not getting enough electricity, and something seems to be cutting out pretty quick when you turn it on. And I thought it was the mains power here, and I've been a bit worried about it, but it occurred to me that I haven't greased the bearings on the counter shaft, the jack shaft at the bottom there, for quite some time. So I found my grease gun after a bit of a search and put that in, and it seems to have fixed it. So keep your maintenance up, and there's probably grease points that on your machine that you forget are even there sometimes, but it's a good idea to put some grease in them. Anyway, this is machined down to an inch on this end anyway, and 7/8, 3/4 with a nice big lump of tool steel. If I start on this end and put 2 parting tool marks and then another one in the right spot and another one, and probably another one into the right diameters, that's going to give us a rough outline of where to start. To be honest, there's a fair bit of work in getting this piece of bar down to looking like a hand wheel. And I'm not going to show very much of it at all. There'll be a little bit of turning, but just progress reports, because this is going to take me most of the day, I think. So this is a bit of a job. I've got this roughed out, and I've got basically the parts parted off that I'm going to remove out of the middle. I'm afraid that this is stainless steel. I've sort of got that feeling. Hopefully I can drill it. If I can't, I'll find something else and we'll get back and have another go at it. But at this point, I'm going to take it out. I'm going to set it up in a V-block, or with a V-block, and I'm going to drill this one right through, probably 1/4 inch, and drill this one through a little bit, 3/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to set it up with a dog between centres and start roughing it out a bit more. So over at the surface plate, and I've got this out of the chuck, I've set this up just with an angle plate and this vise, and I've set the scribe block up to the centre there and just scribed a line along there. Actually centre punched it first, and then I'm just lining up the centre punch to the scribe mark, so that should be on centre there if we drill it. So next job will be to put this down and to drill this one, and then we're going to set the other one up with a rod through it, through this one, to drill the centre, and that should be the 2 holes pretty good. So I've moved this out and put the drill back in the hole and set it up just on the high spot so it just touches, and I've just moved that and given it a tap a bit so that they're both pretty level there with the scribe block. That's a pretty easy way to get that square again in the drill chuck, in the vise. Right, so that one should be nice and square. Probably I could set this up with a square too, it'd be alright too, but that's not far out. Next job is to mark this off the centre along there again, and mark the distance along, and we'll centre punch him and we'll drill him out. So we're back in the lathe, we've got these drilled. This one's a fraction undersized and I'm going to polish that down to match to fit it in there. This one here is right through at what looks like a reasonable diameter, and we'll machine the piece to fit. I've roughed these out a fair bit. It's starting to look like a hand wheel. So there's still a lot more work. I'm going to have to set this over on a taper and machine the pieces in between, and we need to round these off, and probably I'll find some sort of a radius gauge or such to get these looking somewhere sweet, but they've really got to be aesthetic, and it's got to fit the machine. So there's not a whole lot of real design criteria or important parameters happening here. Anyway, that's made a good start on that. Whether I'll keep going tonight because it's getting a bit late, I'm not sure, but I might upload this. This will be part 1 of this little build, and try and get the rest up before the end of the weekend or a bit later on in the week. So thanks for watching, and be kind to each other, and more soon, guys and girls.